So, what was it like coming into an established genre, whereas with Ready or Not, you kind of had a story that didn't have a lot of fan buildup for what it would be?
Um, Wait, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What was it like to come into an established property, whereas with Ready or Not,
Right,
you
right.
wasn't familiar?
It was it we had a lot more at stakes, not the right word, but we didn't want to mess it up. With Ready or Not, we're taking a swing, we're trying something that's wholly original, and there's zero expectations for it. And there's something very freeing in that. There's something very, you can do whatever you want to some extent because there is no blueprint. And with Scream, especially being a franchise that we have a lot of love for personally, just on a very personal level for us, it was nerve wracking at first. And to the point of, until we read the script, we were having conversations of, should we even do this? Like, that sounds crazy. Because we've been offered, we pitched on other franchises that we didn't have as much love for. And kind of, we're not that into it because it just felt not right. But with Scream, we told ourselves that if the script was great, it would be incredible. And then we got really lucky because Guy and Jamie are super talented and they wrote a fantastic script. And so once we read that, the rest of it just became normal nerves of making a movie where we had to like really take it seriously and really do our best. And we got really lucky because the legacy cast and everybody involved that we spoke with who worked on the originals were more than willing to just share stories, to give thoughts, to help us out. Kevin Williamson was involved in every script. It's like, just to be able to have that kind of continuity of legacy and touching the past while still moving it forward, it made it a real splendid experience.
Yes. Well, one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is your protagonist um, has so much more baggage than you usually see from the main
Yeah.
character of the film because normally it's like, okay, bad stuff is happening to her. Where
Mm-hmm.
in this case, she's practically at war with herself, which I thought was a wonderful touch.
Yeah, and I think that for us was also a really interesting, that character is really an interesting reflection of what the franchise is as well for us, right? That we were sort of at war with ourselves about what does a fifth movie look like? How is it different? How does it show up differently? How does it feel differently while also still feeling like it's of the same fabric? And that character for us was such an interesting way to tie a new group of characters to an old legacy, right? Like that was essential for us. Like that there was a real personal reason for this new batch of characters and a new group of kids in Woodsboro to have a real reason to be tied to the past. And we had to bring back some version of that in a really tangible and emotional way for this movie to feel like it had a reason to exist outside of just being nostalgic, right? For us, that was a big fear, that it so easily could have just been a warm, fuzzy movie where you see the characters that you've seen before and that feels good enough to show up at the theater. But for us, there had to be so much more happening for a fifth movie to exist. And again, credit to Guy and Jamie. They found a really amazing path to that also is conceptually interesting and emotional and all of the things that we want from a movie experience, and specifically a Scream movie as well. We think that they found in the script.
Yeah. Now, one of the things is though with you guys, you seem to have a specialty. It's juggling humor and gore. How do you think that you two have been able to pull that off?
I think it comes from, and Tyler, jump in, but I think this is the thing we kind of learned by we've come to this realization. I don't think it was as intentional, but like, we started making stuff at a very small budget where we wanted to make kind of fantastical tales and kind of humor based. So there's a lot of humor in it, but it was always with the sci-fi horror action kind of bend. And then because it was such low budget, the focus always had to be character. It was always character first, character first, character first. We're with the character and they're experiencing this world. This is not about showing you the world because we can't afford to show you the world. So we experienced it through the character's eyes. And then when we got to Ready or Not, we took that with us. And so much of that story is just based on Samara or based on the Ladomises. And it allowed us to kind of really push the limits of what the mythology was and what the buy-in to the movie is, whilst making sure that the characters feel grounded in their own reality, which is in that movie somewhat heightened. And then and again in this, it's just always making sure that it's character first, so that you can push those boundaries. Because I feel like everything ends up being a little bit above reality. You know, it's a little heightened. It's a little like, kind of just, you're kind of having fun with it. But yeah, I think that's where it comes from. And I think because in that balance, if the character's reacting to it the way any of us would react to it, there's just a reality to it that allows you to go further with the absurdity of whatever kind of story and world you're building around them.
And look, I think we learned this, our taste and our sort of, you know, shared interest in the mix of those things from the movies that we grew up loving. And Wes's work is included in that. You know, we growing up on Nightmare on Elm Street, certainly the Scream movies, you know, Aliens, Predator, the Terminator movies, like those are movies that do all that dance so well. And when you look back on those, one of the things they all have in common are these really grounded characters in an insane situation. And that buy-in allows you the dynamic range to be funny, to be scary, to be brutal, to be gory. If it's grounded, you really buy yourself the ability to kind of touch on all of those tones and make it all feel like it is a singular thing, kind of, you know, a very, very singular identity.
The short answer is by accident.
Well, thing that also is kind of interesting is, instead of pretending the last quarter century of horror hasn't happened, you guys dive right in. You acknowledge the Babadook and others, and how what would have been acceptable in the 80s or 90s isn't going to fly now.
That's a part of the conversation, right? That these movies have to have. They have to be encyclopedic in some way, and they have to be a send up and a love letter to just the genre. And for us, you know, you can't just reference old movies. Like the horror is in such a renaissance. The horror genre is in such a renaissance right now. We're in this like golden age where, I mean, some of the best, most influential work happening in cinema is in the genre. And it was really fun to get to have some moments to really like talk about that and call those out, and again, sort of celebrate just how diverse and interesting the genre has always been, but specifically, I think in the last, 5 to 7 years has really become.
Yeah, my final question for you guys is, when I went to see the first Scream movie, a girl took me. Why do you think that this series and the other movie you made, even though you both are guys, why do you think that this stuff appeals to women?
I mean, I think it appeals to everybody, I would hope. I feel like it's, we always try to approach our lead characters as just, humans, and what are they going through, and try not to, overthink it in a way. And then I think the other side of that is we really rely on our actors to make their characters real, and to bring that character that's really well written on the page into reality. And I think that that's something we've got really lucky with on this and on Ready or Not, where we've had these amazing actors stepping into these shoes who just elevate it beyond anything we could bring to it. And then that goes back to what we're saying about focusing on character first. Is what I'm saying is we let our actors do all of the hard work and do our job for us. But we've got really lucky. We have these wonderful actors who are just so, not only are they great people, but they're so talented and so hardworking and so good at what they do. And it just makes all the difference.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I'm with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and this will run next Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, great to meet you.
Right. Thank you.
Take care.